Hello, my name is Carmen Bellos, co-founder of The Great Lesser Known, a website that illuminates lesser-known artists in Middle Tennessee. Today I have the honor of speaking with Nancy Hilgert, the founder and co-creator of The Great Lesser Known. Hello, Nancy.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for taking the time to speak to me today. To get our audience up to speed, I know who you are, but perhaps our audience does not. So let's start out with, where did you come from and how did you get here to Middle Tennessee?
Well, actually, I was born in Washington, D.C. and grew up in Northern Virginia near horse country, which was really important to me because I'm naturally a horse person. But I moved to Knoxville to go to the University of Tennessee. And from there, I just became very much in love with East Tennessee and ultimately Nashville.
I can understand that. Nashville is a great place. How did you become interested in art? Was that something you started when you were very young, or were you inspired based on your geography as you got older? How did that work?
I have been drawing since before I can remember. That's always been a part of me, always. And it was fed a little bit by my father. He was a very good artist.
Oh.
That didn't become apparent to me. He was a pilot, so that didn't become apparent to me very quickly, but I distinctly remember him helping me when I was 7. I was drawing a house on the prairie in the moonlight and not getting the shadows right, and he showed me how to make that perspective work. And drawing was just something I couldn't avoid. I just kept doing it and doing it all the way through school. I was lucky to have art all the way through elementary school, middle school, high school, and then decided to make it my pursuit in college.
You were very fortunate that you went to school when art was
Yes,
part of the curriculum.
and music.
Yeah, and music, yes.
Yeah.
So how's your career going? Has it evolved over the years?
Oh, definitely. When I graduated from college, I drew full-size billboards.
Wow.
Back when billboards were created with silkscreen printing. I departed from that for quite a long time and took it back up much later, other than just drawing for myself on my own time at home, showing a little bit, not a whole lot, but about 2003, after 16 years of being a professional equestrian, which I adored, it was missing from my life, and I converted a large room in the upstairs of my house to a studio and started again, knowing I wanted to pursue that full force. So it's been going pretty strong since then.
I'm so happy that you pursued that. What is your primary subject matter? Do you have a primary subject matter, or do you have several subject matters that you feature?
3 bodies of work, and the 2 that are the most emotionally important to me are what I call nature, wood, and stone, and ocean things. And there are some here sitting behind us. Nature, wood, and stone is literally that, but it is very much inspired by my lengthy experiences in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park and the structures there. I will always do that. I will never stop doing that. It is a true expression of my soul. I've had some wonderful experiences in Hawaii and the Pacific Northwest with lava pebbles and starfish and things that I adore, and they became the Ocean Things series. And I started that full force in 2009. And people love to buy them.
Oh, yes.
So
yes.
Yeah.
And you've won several awards for your...
Yes, yes.
Tell me about your technique. What techniques do you employ?
I started out as predominantly a graphite artist, but most artists do this. They start to experiment with things, whether it's the paper or the tools. I started mixing things and layering things. I layer graphite on top of charcoal. I use colored charcoal. I love doing tough stuff they teach you in art school to never do, like do very fine detail on a rough surface. Well, I was very drawn to that because I found that I could make extraordinary detail using the paper talking back to me rather than fighting it. So that's pretty signature to what I do in both of these series.
Very, very nice. And it sounds like it's not for the...
The weak of heart.
Yes, that's what I want to be pleasant about that, but that is for the novice. It sounds like someone who has to be very skilled to do that. And like you said, the paper has to speak to you, and you have to be one with that medium, pretty much.
Yeah, and experimentation gets us to a level of knowledge and sometimes love of combination of tools to where it's not a hazard or a challenge. It's an opportunity.
So tell me a little bit about your style.
Well, it is definitely realism. It goes into contemporary realism also.
I can see that.
Very important to me in all my pieces is that they will draw you from far away to come up close and hopefully be intrigued by what you see from inches away from the glass. I love great composition and design, but I really love detail. I love a piece to be the sum of all the teeny tiny parts that to me truly exist. Yeah, it's realism. There are lots of forms of realism, but I really do try to draw every little grain in a log and every little speck on a stone. I love that. I enjoy it.
So to you, it's not about patience. It's just the joy of doing it. I could imagine it would take a lot of patience to do something as well. But
that's the most frequent question I get at festivals and art shows is how do you have the patience? And I think that's even in my biography on my website. I don't employ any patience. It doesn't ask me to be patient. I just do it.
Amazing. What is your motivation or perhaps inspiration to continue doing this?
Wow. It's just, there's so much reward and joy in putting these very emotional images on paper for me. They are an expression of the love I have for these things and these places.
I think that's why people are drawn to it too,
Do you
because
think?
they can feel that, yes, in your work.
I like to throw a little story in too. But it's really it's really about the places that inspired me, the objects that I think are beautiful, whether they're old or new, that never cease to call my name. I have
You're paying homage to this.
file folders full of ideas of things that I'll never live long enough to draw.
Wow. So Nancy, what motivated you to establish the Great Lesser Known website to feature lesser known artists in Middle Tennessee?
Around 2009, at an art festival, I started to realize that there were a lot of women artists who wanted to further their careers, wanted to feel less alone in their art journeys, and they just needed community. They needed to be able to talk with other artists about how to build a website or what shows are the best ones to go to for their medium. There were hundreds of questions like that, and I think a lot of them just got stopped up and even would quit because they didn't have the answers. So I decided to invite them to lunch, and long story short, it just took off from there, building it to more and more invitees to a monthly lunch with no dues, no agenda, no particular requirements to be a member. And I wanted to feature them. I wanted to show them off as a group. I wanted to make them better known. So I had an idea to publish something in magazine form or softcover book or something like that that would give their biographies and information about where they can be contacted, pictures of their work. But I knew that once I had collected all of that, it would start to become obsolete before I could even put it out. And then the whole expense of doing a publication. One morning, having breakfast with you and Brandon Jackson, our videographer, Jackson Photo Works, I shared with you all that I had this frustration about sharing women artists of Middle Tennessee to the public, and that I wanted to call this The Great Lesser Known. You all loved it. Brandon suggested we build a website, and it took off from there, and we now have a Facebook page as well.
Yes, I'm so glad we are collaborating on this. I feel this is a great opportunity for
It's so much fun too.
Lesser known artists, absolutely.